In case you haven't heard, Google for Nonprofits offers organizations like yours access to some of Google's products at no charge. With this program, you can fundraise more easily, share your story with a wider audience, and collaborate more efficiently. A few examples of these products include G Suite for nonprofits with apps like Gmail and Google Drive. And there's also Google Ad Grants, which allows you to run text ads on Google search results.
To get started, make sure you meet the eligibility requirements. Your organizations must be a nonprofit, charitable organization in good standing in your country. All organizations must be registered with the local TechSoup partner. Keep in mind, while philanthropic arms of educational organizations are eligible for Google for Nonprofits, schools, child care centers, academic institutions, and universities are not, and should visit Google for Education instead. Next, make sure that the Google for Nonprofits program is available in your country. And last, but certainly not least, are the products you want to use available in your country? Click here to find out. Let me quickly remind you that we are partnered with TechSoup to verify that you are a valid nonprofit in your country, and you can start that process here. The validation process through TechSoup may take time, but once you are, you can retrieve your token from your organization's profile on the TechSoup website. You'll need this TechSoup validation token to enroll, so make sure that you have it handy.
Once you've read the eligibility requirements, and assuming that you have your TechSoup validation token, click Apply to Google for Nonprofits. On the application, you'll need to read and confirm each statement. Check off each box in order to proceed. At this step, you will need to provide your TechSoup validation token, which looks something like this. Then click Continue. Now you'll need to enter your organization and contact details, like your nonprofit's physical address, mission statement, your work phone number, email address, and more.
Don't forget to tell us your communication preferences. We can only contact you regarding product updates, events, and other important stuff if you opt in.
And tell us how you heard about the program, which is obviously from us, your YouTube hosts. Then you'll be ready to submit the application at the bottom of the page.
And that's it. Now your account is under review, and we'll let you know by email if you've been approved. Once your application has been approved, you can start enrolling in the individual products offered through the program. G Suite includes tools that you've probably already been using, like Gmail and Google Drive. However, the Nonprofit Edition offers additional features that will help you manage your organization.
For example, you get unlimited email addresses at your custom domain and can even keep the same domain you're currently using. Additionally, your employees can collaborate in real time through Google Docs and Sheets, or meet face-to-face from remote locations using Hangouts.
Before we proceed, something to consider. The person registering for your nonprofit should be the person responsible for IT. You don't necessarily need to be an IT admin, but you should be the one creating new accounts and helping reset passwords.
Go ahead and sign into your Google for Nonprofits account. There are 2 tabs. Make sure you're on the Enrollments one. You'll see the option to enroll in G Suite for Nonprofits, so go ahead and click on it.
If you already have a G Suite account, you can skip ahead. If you don't have one yet, you'll need to sign up following these 3 steps. Step 1. Fill out all the fields you see about you and your organization. Click Next. Step 2. If you don't have a domain yet, you can purchase one through Google Domains here. And if you already own a domain specific to your organization, like yournonprofit.org, you should check that box and enter it here. Then hit Next. Step 3. This is where you create your account, which you will use to log into all your G Suite for Nonprofit products, and how your email will appear to others.
Continue to fill out the form with your username and password, and then prove you're not a robot. You'll also need to read and check the boxes at the bottom of the page. One is optional, but allows us to communicate with you when there are things like product announcements. The other checkbox indicates that you have read and agreed to the terms of G Suite, and you cannot proceed without checking this one. Now click Accept and sign up.
Before you can use your domain with G Suite, you need to verify that you own it. To do so, you will need your login details for your hosting platform. This is a security step to prevent unauthorized people from using your domain.
Don't forget this part. We see people forget to verify their domain ownership all the time, and if you don't, you can't unlock all the amazing tools that G Suite provides.
Keep in mind that it can take a few days for your domain to become fully verified in G Suite.
You're almost there, but you still need to upgrade the G Suite account to the Nonprofit Edition. Go back to the G Suite for Nonprofits product enrollment page. Enter your domain name, and then click Enroll. It's important to note that you have to complete the upgrade within 30 days or your account will be suspended.
Don't forget to add the rest of your staff using the G Suite Admin Console, but we'll go into detail more in another episode.
We're going to take a look at the Google Admin Console, and specifically we're going to look at the users portion of that. Users is where you add, rename, and reset passwords for all the users in your organization, as well as create sub-organizations within it. So I'm going to jump over to my admin console. I'm already logged in. Users should be one of the main ones you see. If you don't see all of the admin console portions that I have here, you'll notice along the bottom it'll say more controls, and you'll get a couple other icons for your dashboard. And all you have to do is drag those icons up from this more controls up into your main dashboard view, and it'll add it there. So if you don't see users, go ahead and drag it up so that way it's easy to get to. It's something that you'll use really consistently if you are an admin on your Google Apps domain. So I'm going to select my users. And you can see I have a bunch of demo students here that I use for my Google Classroom. So to create new users, whether they be students or teachers, is really straightforward. Down here in the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see the Add User button and Add Multiple Users. When I hover over that plus sign, I get both of those options. So first I'm going to select Add User, and I'm going to name my user there. And you're going to put the name of that user as well as what you're using as your naming scheme for the accounts. I tend to prefer to set the password for that user, and I set a pretty straightforward password for that organization or that group of students, so that way it's easy for them to log in on the first try. What it'll do when they sign into that Google account for the first time, it will prompt them to reset that password. So you can either set a password so it's kind of easy to get all students in particular in on the first try, or you can auto-generate that password. And then select Create. If you select additional info, it'll look for things like addresses and things like that. You're free to include that information. But for most purposes, creating a new user is just that beginning information. And again, it'll either send an email to them, or you can print out a page that has their username and their default temporary password for that, or you can just sign up to class. If you're using the Add Multiple Users, you'll see that you get to download an Excel file, or you can bring that into Google Sheets. And you must fill out the first 4 columns. And this is what it looks like when it opens. You have to fill out first name, last name, email address, and password, just like we filled out to create the new user on a single user, but instead you're doing it in a batch user form. And that's really helpful for schools when you already have those kind of spreadsheets that have class lists automatically populated. So that way it's really fast and efficient to get students or any users in general into your organization. When you've created and saved that, you can come back and attach that file to batch upload. So you'll see on these students here, you can see when they've logged in and whatnot and how much email space they're using. And you'll notice some of these icons on the far right. You can reset a password right from this main part of the user screen. You can rename. Sometimes that takes a little bit of time to take effect. Google gives a warning it might take 24 hours. And then if I use the 3 vertical dots, which some folks call the snowman, if I select that, I can delete a user. If they leave your school or your organization, you can suspend them. So if there's ever a case where you need to temporarily disable email or the account in general for an individual student or member of your school community, you're able to do that. You can also send a message this way. If I select that demo student there, if I select a user, I can do many of those same criteria. I can see what apps are created for them. I can see what groups, if any, they are in, and we'll have a separate video for about creating groups. I can also, again, from here, reset the password, move to another organization, which we're just going to talk about in a moment, and I can add them to a group, as well as those other options such as rename, suspend, and delete. So right here on the left side of my screen, I've opened up the filter so that way I could see that's what this symbol is up at the top. It's a filter. So that way I can see the different organizations within my domain. So right now, most all of my accounts are within the main organization. If I select, there are 3 dots on the side here, I can add a new sub-organization or edit the organization that's there. And I'm going to select this add a new organization. And I can create, I might say grade 3. So that way I can give specific permissions to 3rd graders. You might split it up between faculty and staff. And users can be moved in between different organizations. So if you had a group that was maybe coaches and that coach became a full faculty teacher for you, you're able to move that coach into the teacher category instead. And you're going to create that organization. I've actually already created a sub-organization perfectly for my demo students. So that way, in the apps menu, I can give them different permissions. And there's a whole video about our apps menu, so that way you know how to turn different apps on and off for students. So once you've created that organization, you can see I can add in an individual user into that. But you're most likely, especially when you use the batch user update, they're going to go into this main organization. So there's 2 different ways I can add students into that sub-organization of demo student there. So if I'm going to open up one demo student, and I can use the control at the top to move to another organization, select demo students, and it'll tell me that some services may be turned on and off for those students. I confirm it, and that student is moved to that sub-organization. But more often, you're going to have more students, more than one student that you have to move to that sub-organization at a time, or more than one user you're going to have to move to a sub-organization at a time. So what I'm going to do, you'll notice if I kind of hover over this icon, I get a little checkbox. And by selecting that checkbox, I can select multiple users at one time. And this is very helpful in moving users in between different organizations. When I select multiple users, up at the top right-hand corner, I can add them to a group, but I can also move them to another organization. So I'm going to select move to another organization. I select demo students, and then all of the ones I have checked off have been moved to that organization. So I hope that helps you manage and organize your users in a great way. Know that there are accompanying videos for this about apps and groups. And as always, feel free to subscribe to AOP Tech on YouTube here for our